In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some editing operations in ArcGIS Pro. Many of them are based on editing polygons, and I've got some tips and tricks and some different ways to approach some editing. These polygons are for building rooftops on the AB Tech campus in Asheville, North Carolina, and the buildings and the initial rooftops were developed as part of a class lesson we were doing where we were creating roof forms, extracting data from LiDAR information, and the idea is to create 3D multi-patch buildings eventually. So we did use the local government 3D base map solution from Esri, which is an add-in to ArcGIS Pro, and we used it to create the buildings, or I used it to create the building polygons. And then there's several different tasks in this solution that allow you to do different things, and one of them allows you to segment the building polygons that are created in an attempt to create these different polygons for different areas where the buildings have different elevation heights for the for the roofs. If you look, you can see this building. It looks like it did a decent job. This is the library. It pulled out that polygon and here. But for this building, it did not segment out any polygons. Did not segment them out well. And this one is the parking lot, the parking deck. It did not do a good job there. And so, unfortunately, no matter how many different settings I worked with the segment task, I couldn't get it to work that well. So I thought this was a good opportunity to demonstrate some editing techniques, which are pretty valuable when working with ArcGIS Pro. So if you look here, you can see that this building, it doesn't like it was segmented out very well. I know that this part's higher than the rest, and this isn't really correct there. So we're going to start there. This is the Mission Event Center. And a good way to better understand what buildings look like when you're not exactly certain how they should be segmented out is by looking at ArcGIS Pro. And so here you can see this is that building. And so if we zoom into it and pan around, you can see that indeed this is higher than the rest. And if we look around, we can get a better idea of what's going on over here as well, which I don't know how well that's going to be able to be modeled in ArcGIS, but you can see that this has a little bit of different in elevation here as well with that and the surrounding. And so based on that information, and let's see also this walkway is below it, okay? So based on that information, let's look at this building and work on editing it some. So the first thing I think I'll do, well, we need to go to our edit tab up here, and the first thing I think we'll do is just merge these two polygons together. So I can click on this one, then hold my shift key down and select that one. And right here on my tools group here, I can merge those two together. Now, when you merge polygons, here, it's moving a little slow this morning. When you merge polygons, you take two polygons and also two records in the attribute table, and you make them into one polygon and one record in the attribute table. So anytime you merge polygons together, it asks you to choose the one for which you want to retain the attributes, because it merges them together. It can't keep the attributes from both. In this case, the attributes are the same. They're both the Mission Health AB Tech Conference Center, building number 18, and there's no type of building And this is an ID that we don't need to worry about. So it doesn't really matter in this case which you choose. So I'll merge those together. Now we also saw how this area was a different height elevation than this area. So a good way to do this is to cut out that polygon. So I need to select this polygon, and then I'm going to split it. So I said cut, but in some GIS software and even in the Esri world, it's referred to as cut sometimes, to cut a polygon, but split is also what we say. Now I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to click there. I want to make sure to snap. So the way the split tool works, you have to snap to the edge of the polygon. I'm going to go to about there. Now if you wanted to make sure that this line goes straight along where this line goes, which is a good idea, if you right click right on top of this line, you get a context menu, and you can do all kinds of different stuff. But if we tell it to go parallel to that existing line, it's going to take that line straight along. And that's a good way to do it, because that building wall, that rooftop feature should go in the exact same angle as the other. So then I'll click here to put in a vertex, and then it's a right angle, so it would be nice if this was a perfect right angle all the way down. And so I'm going to choose this tool, the right angle tool, and notice how it restricts it to a right angle, and I'm going to double click there. So I can, when I'm using the split tool, I either need to make sure that I double click right on the edge or the boundary of the polygon, or I could double click outside of it. If I were to double click before I got to it, it would fail. The tool would not work. So I'm going to double click there, and that worked pretty well. Now notice this little area here. That wall should actually go directly into to here. So you know, I could have cut off this right angle here a little bit closer. There's no perfect formula to whether it would have been better to you know, I could have not done a right angle here, but gone from right there to right there. So let's see how that looks if I do that. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. I'm going to click there to start. I'm going to, whoops, right click right on top of that line and go parallel to it. And this time, instead of doing a right angle, I'm going to turn off that right angle just by clicking another tool, and I'm going to go right to there. So there's no perfect formula as to whether it would be model this building better to have a right angle there. I mean, what's more accurate, a right angle there, or is this area not as accurate how it goes over the edge there? So I'm going to undo this twice. Whoops, don't want to do that. Redo that. And I'm going to go back and do it the way I did the first time. Go parallel. I'm going to go to here. And this time I'm going to do that right angle again. Double click. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into here. I think this looks a little bit better. I think this area is actually a shadow and the building's not there. Now there is error and distortion based on these this imagery. So you know, you could look at the LiDAR data to determine what you think is best right in there, and the LiDAR is a little confused right in there as well. But I'm going to say that this polygon, the selected, more accurately reflects that rooftop. So I'm going to go to select this polygon, and I'm just going to get rid of this little area by splitting that polygon. Click there, and I'm going to make sure this goes parallel to that line. Come straight across, double click, and now I've got this little polygon that I can just simply delete. Okay, so that is one way to work with that building. Now, I mean, how is the polygon closer to reality than that imagery below it? again, you can compare it to the LiDAR to try and tell, and the LiDAR does get kind of confused on some edges, but it looks like that polygon should go a little bit farther over. And also we could, before even messing with these polygons, it probably would have been a good idea to try to reclassify some of this LiDAR data where it might have gotten confused when it was classified. So I could reshape this boundary a little bit if I thought it should go out a little more. So reshaping, I could maybe start there and use a curve tool, because that, I do know that that is ooh. Now the snapping gets a little weird, so I'm going to hold down my space key to stop snapping, and that doesn't look like that's going to really get me what I want there. So I'm going to press escape. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to maybe just start it right there, because I just want to really capture a little bit more of that. Okay, now again, oops, that grabbed my straight line tool. I didn't want that. I want the curve tool. You gotta be a little careful. You're snapping, see how it snaps there? So it's hard to get it. So if I hold my space key down, it stops snapping in real time, and I can reshape this just a little bit. And you know, is that necessary? It's hard to say, but I did want to show you that reshape tool there. Okay, so obviously the LiDAR got a little confused when it created this as well. You know, you can see the building polygon goes beyond the roof there. Give a quick look at the LiDAR. It's hard to tell from the LiDAR what it thinks. You know, that's probably not terrible where it is. But it did kind of get it confused here. You know, if you look at on Google Earth, you'll see that this walkway is below that building, so we definitely need to segment out that polygon. So let's maybe just try and do this right. Let's see if we you know, this is a whole polygon here. We certainly don't want that. So and this got a little confused as well, so I'm going to edit the vertices on that, maybe get rid of that vertex, delete it. Okay, and that probably is not the best idea, because now I don't think those polygons are coincident anymore. They don't share a vertex right there, so that's not the best idea. That makes them not necessarily oh, I see what it's doing there. So that's kind of a little issue. That's not the easiest thing to fix, but we could right click here and add a vertex there, and if we delete this one, okay, and then we can delete that one, and that does ensure that these two lines are still coincident there, because they share the same vertices. So to fix this little thing here, I think I might just split this polygon here. I don't need to be on edit vertices. I just need to be on let's change it to move there. We don't really want to move it either, but we need to be on a different tool than the one we were on. So let's just press the back arrow on our modify features pane here to get us off of any of these tools. And then I'm going to split this one, and I think I'll just go from this vertex to that vertex and see how that does for us. This vertex to that vertex, and double click. Alright, okay, so now what I want to do is I want to merge this polygon into this polygon. So I need to select multiple polygons. So I'll select this one, shift key, and select that one, and I want to merge these two together. So I can merge, and again, it's going to want me to choose which one I preserve, and they're actually the same. So they have the same attributes, that is. All right. Now, this is that looks pretty good, you know. I mean, if we thought that we needed to reshape this line, this boundary there, we could, but I think that's pretty good for our purposes here. So here, again, I think we need to fix this up a little bit. I think we want to better represent this. It's kind of a tall tower, so I'm going to split it. And if you look, it seems like the LiDAR got confused all the way along there. So is the LiDAR confused there, or is the imagery a little skewed there? It's hard to say. I mean, it looks like we could it wouldn't hurt to probably take off a little bit of this edge all the way down. So before we do that, let's just fix some of this stuff that we know is not right too. Okay, so this parking deck has all kinds of little issues. I don't know why it created all these, but I'm going to select them all and merge them all together. So I'll click merge and just choose one. They all have the same attributes, and there we fixed a lot of those weird little problems there quickly. So now I haven't looked real closely at this and thought through exactly how I think would be the best way to modify this one. But I don't think it's terrible the way it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this polygon, and I'm just going to continue on this line straight through it to split it. So in order to do that, I'm going to choose the split tool, and I'm going to hit that vertex right there at the end of this line. Click there, and then I'm going to tell it to be parallel straight on out with that line. See, it follows it parallel, and double click. Now these two polygons over here need to be merged, so I'll select them and I will merge. I didn't mean to do that. I inadvertently selected that other one, and so we'll just merge those. Alright, so that's looking a lot better. Alright, now this I don't like this too much because it's a rectangular feature that doesn't look very rectangular. It got a little skewed based on some different factors of LiDAR and other things. So what I think I'll do is reshape it a little bit. And to do that, I'll have to select the polygon. I'm going to tell it to reshape, and I'm going to use the LiDAR data to try and better represent it here. Looks like it could all be shifted over, so I'm going to try and like bring it over this way a hair. You know, building 3D buildings, that's not going to matter that much. You're not going to notice that on the 3D building, so I think I'll just leave that line there. But what I want to do is make sure that this is a right angle and this is a right angle and that this line is parallel to that line. So I'm going to reshape, and I'm going to just start. Let's see. I'm going to start right here. Okay, and I want it to go this direction, and since I don't have two vertices going, I don't have anything to go to a right angle to using this tool. But what I can do is I can right click this line and tell it to go perpendicular to that line. That's another way to enforce a right angle, and look at that, that angle seems to be a right angle. But now if I click here, it's going to enforce a right angle. Alright, and now this is not the easiest one to ensure that these two end up kind of at a right angle to each other, but I'll just do that right there. And I've made that more of a rectangular kind of thing. It's a little odd, I think, because this line and this line, this line and this line don't seem to be um, parallel to each other. But let's just go on and cut this out of it as well, and we'll go from there. So I'll go to split, and again, see that if we look at Google Earth, to better understand what's going on here with some of this stuff, this line and this line and this line should be parallel. They should be the same thing. And so I think what I'll do to split that thing out is let's see, I'll go to split, just kind of see what happens. If I click there and I go all the way and click there, it looks like those lines are pretty parallel. Not exactly, but so to fix that, what I think I'll do is I'll reshape. No, I can't reshape. Let's see. Well, well, for now, I think I'll just split that. I'll split this first from there to there. Okay. Now you see this one's a little funky over there. So what you can do from there is there's a variety of things, but you got to be careful because yeah, see that's a little weird in there, but it's not a huge deal for this kind of thing and what we're doing. So those are things to think about, but in this case we're just gonna let that go for now. All right. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other things. I wanted to demonstrate some of the topology tools real quickly. When you're working with coincident boundaries between polygons, okay, there are tools that allow you to manage the coincidence of this line using topology tools. And so if you wanted to make this line better fit this actual building roof feature there, I'm going to select it here. All right, so I'm going to select that polygon, and if you want to just move vertices to make them fit, if you went to edit vertices and you moved one, click there, notice the other one didn't move with it. Okay, so you've got that polygon that now overlaps with this with that one. So if I'd need to move that one to make it match too, and if I moved it too far, I'd get a gap. The point is that I could snap it and then it's closer. So the point I'm trying to make here is that coincident lines between polygons, you'd have to move vertices twice, and you'd have to snap every vertex. You don't want any gaps, you don't want any overlaps, you want those lines to be what we consider coincident. Okay, so you could do that to move them around and make it work. I'm going to undo some of those, and we're going to look at the topology tools to do this. So topology tools allow you to manage coincident vertices, coincident features. In this case, the lines are coincident based on coincident vertices. There is map topology and geodatabase topology. Map topology essentially lets you manage coincident features during an edit session. It does not use rule-based topology stored in a geodatabase. Map topology is available at all licenses of ArcGIS, whereas geodatabase topology is available at the not at the basic level, but is available at the standard and advanced. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about it. So I have map topology turned on now, and it automatically calculates a topology cache that keeps up with vertices that are within the cluster tolerance. That defines them as being coincident. So if I select this line and I want to get out of this modify features thing, so I don't have any of these tools selected, okay, So I've got my topology on, and if I select this polygon and I want to do something like reshape it, notice my reshape tool opens over here in my modify features pane. And the important thing to understand is that when you're working with topology and features in a topology, the lines between polygons that are coincident are referred to as edges. And if you go to modify a polygon with map topology active and you select a feature that has other coincident features, you get this option to modify the edges. So if you want to modify the edges of the polygon, you have to go select edges there, and then notice things turn a different color, and I still need to click on the edge I want to modify. All right. And from there, it shows you the polygons that share that coincident feature, and my reshape tool became active, and so I should be able to click here, and I'd need to look and see exactly how that feature looks under this building polygon, but for now I'll just do this and go to there and do that. And that reshaped both of those lines at the same time. Okay, so it's a tool that allows you to manage coincident features. It works quite differently than it did in ArcMap as far as when you select things, you have to really pay attention to whether you get this option here under the Modify Features pane to work with coincident features. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes I find it's easier just to merge two polygons together and then use the split tool, which the split tool creates coincident boundaries in between the polygons you're splitting automatically without truly using the map topology tools. So for instance, this boundary here, let's discuss it. So I could use those topology tools to reshape this and make sure both coincident lines get reshaped at the same time. But it's kind of an old, just a typical editing technique that is and can be quicker sometimes, just to select them, merge them, and then split them. Now that I've got that, I could just split it. Now this building's kind of interesting around this part. Well, let's look at it and see what it. That's this building, and notice it's I don't know how well some of this is going to be managed by the by our ArcGIS environment, but so yeah, there's a lot of different roof forms in here to work with. So it looks like this is a different form here. I think what I'll do is that's a big thick roof there that I think you want to. Yes, it's kind of difficult to tell what exactly you'd want to do there, but it doesn't appear that yeah, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna split it like this, come here to there, and do a right angle across that, and then come back with a right angle straight down there. No, that doesn't look terrible. I'll select this one here and that one, and I'm gonna kind of just get rid of this little polygon by splitting it. Make sure I go parallel to that. Come straight across, and then I'm just going to delete that polygon. And this roof does something kind of like this. There you go, we'll go parallel to that. And perpendicular. I think it's hard to get that to hit it perfect, so I think I'll just do this and turn off perpendicular for this one and just snap there. Okay, so you can see I started to get this thing built out. So the final thing that we need to do is cut out a donut hole here. And so with this polygon selected, I'm going to create a feature here, and I will do perpendicular. And this is probably not doing, oh no, I'm splitting. Let's see if split works. It's not snapping to itself there. Nope. So if I use the split tool here, I choose to split. Let's see if I can let's look at the snapping. It's not letting me snap to my existing, it is snapping to the sketch there, so I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. There's different ways to do this, but essentially what we're trying to do, there, double click. So it's failing to split that. It doesn't understand what I'm trying to do there. So, oh, no, it did work. So I'm not sure why that did that, or finally it, oops, it did allow me to split there. Another way to do that would be to create a new polygon there, and then to, during an edit session, clip the big polygon by the little polygon to remove the area under them, and then just leaving the one on top. But if I select this polygon and move it, you'll see that it's is it going to let me move it? Yeah, you'll see that it left this area below it, and I'll just undo that move to make sure it goes right back to where it is, and that's a good way to handle that. Now we need to split this and merge these, so that's a pretty easy edit there as well. Select that and split here, and select this one, split here, and then we'll merge these two together. And just click merge. And we're just moving right along with our edits now, and our building polygons are starting to look a lot better, as you can see. Now, we've got issues over here. And some of that, why does that get all weird? That's because that tree, the classification of the LiDAR was misinterpreted by that tree, and you can see here how it is. Before we worked with these buildings, we would have been better off reclassifying all this LiDAR in places like this that we knew it was confused because that tree is over the building, so it thought the building roof height was taller than the tree. It misinterpreted some of the classification because of things like that. But we did not update, we did not reclassify the LiDAR. And then you've got really complex roof forms like this that it didn't understand well. And so there's lots of other things to correct, and we'll get to those as we go. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.